Danny Quinn, and welcome to another episode of First Impressions. On today's episode, I review what many are considering the scariest movie since The Exorcist, Hereditary. This movie is about the Graham family. Annie, played by Toni Collette, her husband Steve, played by Gabriel Byrne, her daughter Charlie, played by Millie Shapiro, and her son Peter, played by Alex Wolff, as they deal with the loss of Annie's mother Ellen. But as their house is haunted by a strange curse, it soon becomes clear that Ellen's left behind more than a few secrets. So yeah, pretty vague plot synopsis, but there's a lot that happens in this movie that I don't want to spoil, so let's get going. Hereditary is arriving into cinemas with a lot of hype surrounding it, especially after its premiere at Sundance earlier this year. There's been a lot of people saying that it's one of the scariest films in years, and that it deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as something like Halloween, The Exorcist, Alien, or Psycho. And you know what? I think it deserves most of the praise it's getting. It's a very bizarre and unique film that's extremely eerie and unsettling right from the opening scenes. There's a lingering feeling of dread that lurks throughout every frame of the film, to the point that even the most mundane of scenes and details somehow feel disquieting. I think a lot of that has to come down to the work of the writer and director Ari Aster in his feature film debut, and he makes a very good first impression here. He has a great understanding of the craft and demonstrates a lot of skill throughout the film, both as a writer and as a director. He very rarely uses jump scares, if at all. There's maybe like one or two throughout the film, but for the most part it's just pure old-fashioned dread from beginning to end. Aster really shows a lot of promise with this film, and I think he's definitely going to be a filmmaker to look out for in the coming years. It's also a very beautiful and elegantly made movie too. The cinematography, the shot compositions, the lighting, the level of detail, particularly within the Graham house. It's all just splendid. The film is so well put together and feels so meticulously staged and set up. It's a slow burner of a film with a lot of steady camera movement, static shots and minimal editing that really allows you to soak in all of the details on screen. The sound design and score as well are both equally effective in adding to the film's unsettling atmosphere. The score especially I think might rank as one of the most chilling I've heard all year. Another major strength of Hereditary is its script and themes. The way it examines familial trauma, mental illness, and grief is just so unflinching and uncomfortable that it really does kind of hit close to home at points. As the movie unravels, it becomes very clear that the Graham family are a very dysfunctional and very fucked up family, especially Toni Collette's Annie, who has had to deal with all kinds of trauma and abuse in her life, and she seemingly did something very bad to her children in the past. Collette is superb in this film. She gives a very committed and a very intense performance, managing to be quiet and underplayed 1 minute, and unnerving and hysterical the next, in a very complicated and difficult role. At its heart, Hereditary is a film about family. It's about how a family can be simultaneously torn apart by tragedy and mental illness, and yet somehow bound together by it at the same time. It's about how families can be connected on a much deeper level than you might think. As the saying goes, blood runs thicker than water, and that's definitely a sentiment that rings true for the Graham family, for better and for worse. The only possible exception in this is rather ironically Gabriel Byrne's Steve, the family patriarch, who's largely oblivious and skeptical of the horrors unfolding around his wife and children, but tries his best to provide a support system for them. But while a lot of people have drawn comparisons between this film and The Exorcist, I actually felt like this movie was a little more reminiscent of something like The Babadook, particularly in the relationship between Annie and Alex Wolff's Peter. Their relationship is clearly quite fraught from the outset, and their own personal feelings of resentment towards each other only really exacerbate as the film goes on. Peter especially suffers the hardest out of all the family members, and Wolff does a good job of conveying the feelings of fear and emotion, even if his crying can come across as unintentionally humorous at times. But to be fair, nobody sounds good when they're crying. Nobody. And then there's Charlie, the youngest member of the Graham family, and easily the kookiest out of them. She often makes a strange clucking sound with her tongue, and has an unhealthy obsession with birds to the point that she uses actual bird body parts for her makeshift toys and figurines. She's a very troubled and disturbed child, and Shapiro does an absolutely outstanding job in a role with very little dialogue. She gives one of the creepiest child performances I think I've ever seen, even if her role is not what you might expect if you were going by the movie's marketing, which pushes the character to be of much more importance to the film than she actually is. From a pure psychological horror standpoint, Hereditary is a very impressive film that did manage to affect me on an emotional level, which very few horror films have. However, when it comes to the more supernatural aspects of the story, I think that's where the film will prove far more divisive. Some people will probably be okay with it, and some people will probably think it's a step too far in the wrong direction. Indeed, I do think the supernatural element is marginally weaker than the pure psychological element of the film, and the film's ending is downright insane to say the least. But hey, it's a movie about death, and the supernatural elements don't come entirely out of nowhere, so I can kinda let it slide. If I did have to highlight any issues, I guess the film can come across as unintentionally humorous at times. Alex Wolff's performance is a little bit over-exaggerated in a few places, and I do think the ending is a bit of a mouthful. It's batshit insane. It's a pretty satisfying payoff to what came before, but at the same time, it's not really something that everyone's going to appreciate, and I can kind of understand that people come out of this movie saying, well, I liked it up until such and such, or I liked it up until this part happens. I can kind of see where people are coming from there. But overall, I found Hereditary to be a very engaging and compelling horror movie. Probably one of the best that we've gotten in recent years, and it's one of the few horror films that really managed to leave me feeling uneasy from beginning to end. Ari Aster cements himself as a talent to look out for with his meticulous writing and directing. The cast are all excellent, it's gorgeously made. Yeah, there's a few moments that are unintentionally silly, but the film is still an unsettling and emotionally heavy piece of work that really did stick with me. So with that being said, I'm gonna give Hereditary a strong 8 out of 10. I really do recommend seeing it. I can understand that it's not going to be a film for everyone, and it's far from an easy film to sit through. I can't deny that at all. There's definitely a few moments that did leave me in utter shock, and if you're not into more artsy, less conventional horror fare, I'm not really sure if this would be of any interest to you, but the only way to see for yourself is to just fucking see it. And while you're at it, please avoid the trailers so that you don't get any wrong impressions about the movie before seeing it. So Hereditary, have you seen it yet? If so, what did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you once again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with more reviews on upcoming movies and maybe even some older movies. But in the meantime, feel free to like the video, leave a comment, maybe even subscribe to my channel while you're at it, that would be much appreciated. If you want to support me on Patreon, the link's below down in the description. And if you want to contact me via social media or email me, again, links below down in the description. If there's anything I can do to improve my presentation, do let me know. I'm always happy to hear feedback as long as it's somewhat constructive. And until next time, I'm Danny Quinn, and I hope you have a pleasant evening.